Yo, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and today I want to talk to you guys about a quote that was sent to me. This quote was sent to me because if you saw a video that I did recently about a book that I had written called How to Escape Mental Welfare, and if you want to go ahead and buy that book, I greatly appreciate it. It supports this channel, How to Escape Mental Welfare. You can buy it at coachrenz.com/coaching. But if one of my customers had bought that book, one of my supporters had bought that book because they love the content that I bring. And when they bought the book, they sent me a quote because they said the book reminded them of this quote. It was a quote by Albert Einstein. And what that quote says, basically, is that with the same mind that created the problem, that same mind can't solve the problem. And it got me thinking again. It got me thinking deeper about other methodology, other thought processes that people need to consider when they want to change a problem. You know, every year or every so often, iPhone comes out with a new one. Android comes out with a new one. I have the Note 5 right now. Yeah, I would love to have the Note 8, but I have the Note 5. Now, me being a former computer guy, I thought about this for a minute, and I thought about how it correlates. You see, it correlates in this. As an IT guy, we can always change the software. We get a server in, we get a computer in, we get a system in. Once we can change the software. And oftentimes when we're trying to make differences in our lives, we're just trying to change the software. We're trying to go from Excel 95 to Excel 2000. We're trying to go from PowerPoint 2000 to PowerPoint 2010. We're just trying to change the software, small changes in the software. But the problem is that the firmware is still the same. Now, for all my IT people out there, they already know that in 99% of the cases, you cannot change the firmware on a computer. That's why one is called software, because it's soft, it's malleable, you can change it, you can delete it, you can take it off the computer. The computer doesn't have to have it to function, but you have to have the firmware. You have to, and it's firm, meaning that it doesn't bend. It doesn't break, it's firm. And in the Taoist tradition, things that have life, things that has energy are soft. Things that are dead, things that are hard, they're firm. So when you can't change the firmware of your mind, then you can't change the problem. You will maintain that problem. Many people ask over and over again, how do they keep repeating their life over and over again? And most of the time it's because they haven't changed the firmware. They haven't totally just thrown out the computer. You see, every now and then on my phone, on my Note 5, I'll get a firmware update. Now, firmware update just fixes some minor problems. But unbeknownst to some people, and I know some conspiracy people will go into this one, sometimes the firmware creates more problems so that I have to go and get a new phone. We have to have firmware updates in our mind that creates a situation where we have to go get a new brain. We need a new brain, a new way of thinking, a new way of thought, a new way of processing. And that's what my book reminded them of in How to Escape Mental Welfare, a new way of thinking, a new way of solving problems, a new way of conceptualizing the world around you. But I want to take you guys a little bit deeper, just a little bit deeper. One of the other ways you change the firmware, we'll hear people talking about we got to increase our vibration. We got to change the frequency. This shirt that I'm wearing is from a local radio station here in Atlanta. And if I wanted to hear sports, this is the channel that I would listen to. But if I want to hear political talk, there's a different radio station. If I want to hear just general conversation that deals with the African American community, there's another radio station. If I want to hear the country music, there's another radio station. So depending upon the type of music I want to hear or the type of conversation I want to hear, I change the frequency. But in order to change that frequency, I have to move the dial. But the dial in your brain is not moving if you haven't changed the firmware. If you haven't changed the way you think, the way you act, the way you conceptualize things. So we have to change that. And if you never do, then you're going to continue to repeat, continue to have the same struggles, continue to have the same problems. I just turned 46 a few days ago. And if I continue in my same ways of life, then I'm going to get the same results over and over again. So in order for me to make differences, have different results, I had to change my process, change my firmware, change my brain. Now, there are many studies that have shown that this technique will help you to change your brain, that your brain neural pathways starts to fire off, and that your brain starts to evolve and become different than what it is currently. And that's meditation. But meditation is not something that's easily done. It's not something that you just go and sit and just and then your brain, all of a sudden you wake up and it's a change. It takes time, first of all. I've been meditating since I was about 12 years old, right? I probably, maybe a little bit sooner, but right around that time frame is when I first started meditating. I didn't become really good at meditating until I was about 21 years old, right? Is when I became really, really adept and really, really able to focus and maintain a thought for longer than 5 minutes. And it took that long to get there, and it took consistently doing it every day, sometimes twice and 3 times a day, learning how to do walking meditation, which means that I'm working, I'm doing things, but my brain is in a meditative state. My being is in a meditative state. You see, many people, they go to their church, mosque, and synagogue, and they're praying, and they're calling that meditation because they're praying. They're going, they're begging, they're asking for something outside themselves to come in and make a difference, to all of a sudden have a miraculous change inside them. But the miraculous change is already inside you. You just have to go through the process and use the tools that you already have. So in order to do that, as one TED Talk showed, meditation is one of the major processes. If you listen to a lot of successful people, if you really study them and read between the lines and get into the nuts and bolts of it, these people were able to achieve their successes because they were able to change the firmware, and many of them speak of meditation. They speak of being able to focus. They speak of being able to take that quiet time and be able to refocus, see the world differently, do the world differently. Let me give you a little something, since we're speaking about iPhones or phones in general. Steve Jobs. It wasn't that Steve Jobs would see what's out there and then produce it. Steve Jobs was ahead of the flow. He was ahead of what was coming. He created the flow. He did things that made you realize that you needed something when you never even knew that you needed it. Who knew that they needed a small device that would hold 500 songs? You didn't know you needed that. Before that, we put CDs in a case or tapes in a case, and you listen to one CD or a mixtape that you may have made. So you didn't know that you needed 500 songs on a small device until Steve Jobs created something. He saw it before you knew you needed it. He was ahead of the curve, ahead of the process. Through meditation, we can get ahead of the curve, ahead of the process. We can get into a flow that always has us at the lead edge. It's like the surfer who's waiting on the big wave, but in order to get the big wave, they have to be in position. They have to be in a state of noticing and watching and being in order to get ahead and be a part of the big wave. So if you want to be a part of the big wave, if you want to be an innovator, if you want to be a part of the flow, be there before everybody else gets there, then learning how to meditate and see the world differently. See, I began talking about meditation a few years ago because I know, and I still know, that one of the next great opportunities is going to be in meditation. Different types of meditation. Executive meditation, leadership meditation, child meditation. There are schools in Canada that has already began that. Schools in Detroit that have begun having meditation in schools. Meditation will become the fabric of the world in the next 20 years. So you have to get ahead. You have to see that now. Many people can't see it. Many people don't know it's coming like that. Many people don't know that people are gravitating towards it. I hear people of all beliefs now talking about meditation. All beliefs talking about that. All walks of life talking about meditation, about centering, about getting their chi, getting their energy in line. All these people from all these religions are now talking about energy. They're talking about the universe. They're talking about what they're putting out and what's coming back. Now, I can tell you this now. Understanding the hermetics will become of great value in the next 20 years. You got to be ahead of the curve. You have to see it. You have to see it. One of the marketing mentors that I listen to a lot, Gary Vaynerchuk, talks often about all he does is watches to see where the attention is. He doesn't know. He doesn't forecast. He doesn't make predictions. He looks at where the attention is early, and he follows the attention. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes he puts energy and effort into a device, a tool, a place of attention that doesn't bear out, that fizzles. But he'll put his attention onto 5, 10 different things that are coming out right now, that are getting the most downloads right now. He'll put his time and energy to see how it works, what's going on with it, and then he'll watch the attention, but he's already gotten involved early before it hits. So he's already in flow, so it looks like he's a great predictor, but what he says is that he's just attentive to where people are putting their attention. That's how you get ahead. That's how you get there. Steve Jobs saw the world moving digital. He saw music moving digitally. So he already got ahead of the curve and say that create the digital device that will hold 500 songs, hold 1,000 songs. And since he parted this understanding, since he's parted this third dimensional realm, Apple hasn't been as innovative anymore. They haven't been as innovative as well as they were then. And I wonder if the leaders of Apple recognize Steve Jobs spent a lot of time meditating. People read Napoleon Hill's books, Think and Grow Rich. But do you know that Napoleon Hill spent quite a bit of time meditating, spent quite a bit of time in a mastermind situation with his wife. Now that is a whole nother realm of discussion about getting into a mastermind with somebody, but that is why you saw my video earlier this week about tantric sex, because it wasn't just about the gratuitous, lustful natures of sex, but more of the spiritual realm of sex. You see, marriage, our current understanding of marriage, our current way of dealing with marriage, our current way of counseling marriage is ending, it's over. The divorce rate is through the roof. If you think that if you're getting into therapy, if you're wanting to become a marriage counselor and you're sticking to the traditions, you're going to find yourself on the outs. You're going to find yourself out because the spiritual coaches are going to be the ones that will grab those people's attention. The tantric coaches will grab those people's attention. The Taoist sexology coaches will grab those people's attention. The energy workers, the hermetic workers will grab those people's attention because that's where it's headed. So you have to get ahead of that flow. Now, how can you do that? You have to quiet your mind. You have to quiet your mind. You have to be able to quiet your mind so that you can then actually make changes to your firmware. Make changes to the way you think. Make changes to the way you see things. Over the years, I've been through experiences, spiritual experiences, meditative experiences that has allowed me to see things differently, to perceive the world differently, perceive nature differently, perceive the creator differently, to perceive people differently. Now, I'm not perfect at it, and you never will be, but I have grown better and better and better, which has impacted my ability to coach people. I'm able to see things in the people that I coach that they couldn't see themselves and that other coaches or counselors could not see within them as well, and to bring those things out. But all of that is because I've spent thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of hours meditating. My children have spent thousands of hours meditating, and especially one particular child who is AP advanced placement classes since 8th grade. Meditation is one of the primary ways that allow her to organize her brain, organize her time, organize her emotions, to not get overly stressed and be able to go through high school that way. And now that she's in college and understands the process, she told me the other day that college is a breeze. Compared to high school, college is a breeze, is what she just recently told me. Now that is only because, I'm not gonna say only, but a major player of that is the fact that at an early age, I taught my children how to meditate, how to focus, how to not so much shut out the world, but to hear the world, see your goal, and put the world in its placement for your goal so that you can achieve your goal, so that your focus can be there. So if you don't understand this, if you rile against it, you may find yourself always repeating the same mistakes in life that you've been repeating. I was coaching someone, and they said a statement that I had previously just seen on Facebook. It was weird. All right. And the statement said, how does a person who makes $9.50 an hour take more vacations than me? Right. And what I told them, I said, they had made that statement to me, and maybe that's where they got it from, I don't know. But they made that statement to me, and I asked them, I said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you save 10% of what you make to go into a play account? Do you save 10% of what you make to go into a savings account? Do you save 10% of what you make to go into an investment account? And do you only live off 70% of what you make? And their answer was no. I said, now if a person who makes $9.50 an hour, if they were able to do that and they live their life accordingly, it may not be the grandest life. They may not have a newest car. They may not live in the nicest apartment or house. But if that person they run their finances according to that scale, that is why they can take more vacations than you. Because if your debt to income ratio is 90%, is 95%, 98%, and oftentimes is 105%, then you will not take as many vacations as the person who makes $9.50 an hour, because that person is putting 10% away for savings, which they can go on vacation with, 10% away in play, so that they can go out to the movies and go to events and go to concerts with, and 10% into investments so that they can build financial independence at some point. That person is doing that. It's just like the gentleman who worked in a parking garage, never made more than, I think, like $40,000 a year or less, or something like that. Never made more than $40,000 a year. But when he retired, he had over $700,000 in his retirement. It's all about your mind. Your mind. If your mind is caught up on the materialism of the world, if your mind is caught up on keeping up with the Joneses, how do you expect you to find financial independence and freedom? You can't. You're just trying to augmentate your software, change your software. No, you have to change your firmware. You have to change that firmware. And meditation is a great tool to do that. Now, there are many other things that I talked about in my book, How to Escape Mental Welfare, that can help you to do that. There are many different tools and different understandings. The book is very short because I was straight to the point when I wrote this book. But you getting into meditative states and understanding and being able to focus, to see the world, but then compartmentalize the world into its proper place so that you can then maintain the focus on your goal. But it needs, you still need to see the chaos of the world and everything around you, because some of those things are there to help you get to that place. It's kind of like you ask the creator, you ask the universe to bring that person into your life that you want to fall in love with, but then you stay in the house all day. You go to work and you go back home. You go to work and go back home. That person may be at a jazz concert. You love jazz, but you don't go. So how will you meet the person? You may love cooking. That person may be at a cooking class, but you don't go. You go home to work. That's all you do. So if the person is there for you, how will you ever see them if your mindset doesn't change so that your activities, your life doesn't change? It's the law of cause and effect. There, for every effect there is a cause, for every cause there is effect. If you're lonely, if you're single and lonely and wishing, but all you do is go to work and go home, then the only opportunities you're going to have to not be that is somebody who's in those places. So if no one's at home with you, then your only options are the people you work with. So who do you work with? Just saying. You know, I don't know if the UPS person is coming to your house every day, but that's just that person. So it's all about understanding these hermetics. It's all about being able to use the laws of the universe and being able to focus and meditate so that the right things can come into your life. Because if you're meditating on that, if you change your mindset, change the way you function, go out and start doing the things you enjoy, go out and start being a part of the flow, then the other people who can assist you, the other parts of the world that can help bring these things into your life. You may be out. Matter of fact, I was meditating. I know that my company is growing and is getting to a point, it's going to be at a point in probably a year where the financial outlook of this company is going to be beyond what I want to deal with, but it's also going to be beyond what I know, how I know the higher levels of finances. It's going to be beyond my knowledge. And what did I meet the other day? I met a young lady who is a finance major who went to Wharton, and we had a great conversation. And I know that she will be a part of my future because it's something that I have been meditating about. And I opened my mouth to have a conversation, to get to know the person, so that now, and there's things that she had been meditating on that I will be able to provide for her. So it's not a one-sided, it's a mutual ebb and flow of energy, ebb and flow of giving and receiving. So meditation has helped me do that. I meditate at least twice a day. At least twice a day. So if you guys have never meditated, either get you a coach, watch a ton of YouTube videos, Practice it, practice it, practice it. Do whatever you need to do in order to get there. But you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And like I said, if you want to order my book, you can order it here. And thank you guys, I appreciate it. And thank you for the support on Patreon and all other efforts, because it enables me to be able to do this. And we'll be doing it even better as we grow. So y'all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Love you.